Brothers and sisters, welcome back to my channel. So today we're gonna talk about Fire King, one of my favorite decks. I'm gonna showcase to you a sort of cookie cutter list, and I'll tell you which change you guys should or could apply to the list in order to make it like maybe more suited to your playstyle. So let's start with a solid 3 Vulcanics. 3 Vulcanics is... I mean, 3 Vulcanics is the sauce, bro, like... Vulcanics, it's in. I don't know how many times I have to tell you guys. This card is broken. Can potentially play around late entraps. Nib, like, it forces interruptions. It's not like a Snake-eyes, and it's definitely something that I will play for sure as a trio. And if you play Vulcanics, play the OG card. I have seen people cutting this card, and it's criminal to me, because card alone gives you access to Zombie Vampire. And if you are not playing this card, we are not playing the same game. Yugioh, current TCG, you play Zombie Vampire. This card is beyond broken. You get to know your opponent deck. You might get a trap in the graveyard for your impulse. You might get a card to put in your opponent graveyard in his spell and trap zone for your impulse to negate Nibiru. You can get an Ash Blossom in your graveyard in order to add it back with Sunlight Wolf. You can get Kirin in your graveyard in order to add it back with Sunlight Wolf so you don't have 2 Vulcanics pop a fire on the board and you can search for something else. You can mill an Arvata. You can mill a Witch for Deception play. Play this card. It's an amazing card. Don't miss out on it. Because it gives you several technical plays that you guys can use in order to outplay your opponent. You can mill your opponent a loud Azamina, and then his Deception is dead. Like, there are so many good cards to mill with Zombie Vampire that can put you in a way better position than you were before, that this card, like, that makes no sense to not play this card. And also there are the Charmer lines, because if you don't have 2 level 8, you can go for a Charmer line, reborn a monster of your opponent, and Zombie Vampire. If you use a monster of your opponent, the monster of your opponent counts as level 8! So you can summon Zombie Vampire for free. I am the Zombie Vampire biggest, like, soldier. 2 Kirin, you can play the third one. I just felt that 2 Kirin were enough for the amount of fire monsters. And also because I kind of felt like it was clogging, like, I was drawing too many, like, Kirin with Witch and shit like that. And I think 2 Kirin, for the amount of fire monster that you have in your deck, 2 Kirin is more than enough. You will just have to play a little bit more technical if you play 2 Kirin, because you might have to pop the Kirin on your board instead of the Kirin in your deck, because it might get super weird otherwise. Because then you won't have a second Kirin in the deck if you need something for the crackback. But it's fine. I like 2 Kirin. I think it's fine. 1 Ponix, 1 King Aronix, 1 Arvata, 1 OG, Island Sanctuary, 3 Bonfire. 1 Pop, 1 Ash. Oak is not mandatory, but it's very good in my opinion into interruptions such as Droll and Lockbird. Something to have a follow-up after Shifter or the next turn. I like Oak. I personally like Oak. You don't have to use Oak in every of your combo going first. So it's nice to have your original live at least. So that's why I like it a lot. 1 Flamebirch, 3 Wanted, 3 Witch. I saw people being on 1 Witch, people being on 2 Witch. Just play 3. We wanna mill it with a Zombie Vampire. And if you are not playing Zombie Vampire, we are not playing the same game. Allowed Azamina, 1 Deception. I saw people being on 2, I saw people being on 3, I saw people being on drugs. You play 1 because this card is awful to draw. It's awful to draw going first, the cost is very heavy. It's awful to draw going second, the cost is very heavy. It's very heavy. So no, like, no. 3 Impermanence, 3 Impulse. The reason to play Fire King is literally because you can play Impulse, so you play Impulse. If you don't have Impulse, don't play Fire King. Very simple and straightforward. I know this game is super expensive and I know many people cannot afford those cards. Play a different deck if you wanna compare, like if you wanna play at the highest level. There are many decks that you can play that do not use Fualos or Impulse in the main deck, which is like Centurion, for example, is doing very well. And if you cannot afford Impulse or you don't have Fualos, just go for it. You feel me? And now we go 3 Ash Blossom, 3 Muchami Fuwalos, 1 Call by the Grave that in my opinion is mandatory right now. This card is literally broken right now in the main deck. Let's go over the extra deck because may raise some concerns. I am not playing in this variant specifically Nightmare Phoenix in the extra deck because I want to play Fucho. Why do I want to play Fucho? Because you have obviously Bonfire Ash popular into Fucho against Shifter, but you also have Vulcanix, Pop a Fire in your hand, add Ponix, and Vulcanix becomes a level 1 and then you special summon Ponix. Ponix is gonna add the Sanctuary for follow-up and then you use Vulcanix and Ponix to make Fucho. And those are the 2 reasons to play Fucho, because you have a lot of access to Fucho in this deck. And against Shifter, if you don't play the Snake-Eye Field spell, as I was doing before, it's kinda weak into it. Or if you don't play Skyburn in the main deck, it's even more weak into that. Like, so you kinda need a counterplay against Shifter, and that's why Fucho is in the extra deck. Now, here is the thing. There are cards that you can cut instead of Phoenix. You still have the Zelantis OTK, with Sunlight Wolf, because you can still summon like Sunlight Wolf on top and Zelantis under it, or you can summon Zelantis on top and Sunlight Wolf under it. So you always have the what you were using in order to make the Phoenix OTK. You just lose a card that discards a card in your hand and pop a spell and trap it that your opponent controls. The only thing that you lose, because you still have the Link 2 plus Zelantis OTK if your opponent doesn't not control any monster. So it's the same thing in terms of being able to OTK your opponent. So Azamina Murcielago, Ilya Sylvia, Garonix, Exis. This card is broken right now with Vulcanix. Definitely play it. Zombie Vampire, Fucho, I already explained why. The OTK package, 1 Promethean, 1 Amblo Whale, 1 Sunlight Wolf. Please play Sunlight Wolf. This card is too good, especially in a Chummy meta, in which you can Ash Blossom your Chummy and you can add Ash Blossom back, or you can mill it with Zombie Vampire. Like, this card has so much value, it's crazy. IP Masquerena. Now, here is the thing. If you want to keep the Phoenix in your extra deck, you can cut Anima, but if you cut Anima, your Dark gets worse, even though you still have Dark lines with the Zombie Vampire. But your deck gets very worse, to be honest. And I like Anima, especially under Droll, so that's why I decided at the end to cut Nightmare Phoenix. Ita and SP Little Knight. For the side deck, there are 3 flag spots that are the 3 Retaliating Sea that you might want to play or you might not want to play, and the Phoenix that can be the 3rd Cosmic, but I like Phoenix because it's an extra deck card, and if I'm not playing against a Shifter deck, I'm definitely cutting Fucho, or I'm cutting something else like an IP if I'm going 2nd. So would be... also, someone is asking, right, why we don't play Doolittle Chimera. Doolittle Chimera is not needed anymore for Vulcanix line. I can showcase you guys like a very standard line with this deck, which is which is the reason of why you don't play Doolittle Chimera, because it requires too much setup to get a Doolittle Chimera. A Doolittle Chimera that does add a Kirin in your hand, but you always have a Kirin Cause of Vulcanix, which makes basically Doolittle useless right now, and that's why I don't like it anymore. So we have 3 Retaliating Sea. Retaliating Sea is good against Azamina, and that's why you should probably play this card. I think this card is very good. Yes, conflicts with Impulse, but this card is super good, so I would definitely play this card. The 3 Purulia, there are decks that lose to Fuwaros, and there are decks that don't lose to Fuwaros, but they lose to Purulia. One of the 2, the deck is gonna lose, so you play just both, and you opt to draw both, because shit is literally better than drawing Maxi if you do that, and you are blessed, obviously. So I like the Purulia, obviously, in the side deck. 2 Cosmic Cyclone. Cosmic is okay, can be actually something else. I'm liking Cosmic so far, and that's why I want to play it. It's good against Centurion, it's okay against the Mirror. Going first, it's very good, so I'm liking Cosmic more. 1 Skyber, just to be the 3rd Cosmic, and it's good going 2nd as well. In some matchups, I actually sided Skyber. As a matter of fact, you might also want to main deck this card. And then we go to the standard Trust into Barrier, the 5th dimensional ground. Now, instead of the Cosmic Cyclone, I guess someone wants to put the Mono Talent, which I am not against it. You can do like a lot here. Like you can play the mono talent, so you can side the trust going second, and play, I don't know, another one of anything, right? Like a feather duster, just to have something to search for back row 8. But that's about it. I would probably not go further than that, which is probably something more standard that you're gonna see. The Cosmic was fine to me. I like Cosmic. But like again, like you can still side the talent, the mono talent, so you can side the trust going second, and then the feather duster doesn't have to be feather duster, can be anything, to be honest, because I don't really see the reason of playing back row 8. But like maybe there is some stand decks in your local, some stand decks in your regional that you want to counter, shit like that. I'm not a huge fan of talent right now, and that's why I was not playing it. Can be Cosmic, can be talent, can be whatever you want. You have 3 flex spots in the side deck. Decide whatever you want. Let's move to the combo section of this video. Before moving to the actual combo section, we will have to have a discussion. A discussion about what's the max extension of your hand. So, your hand board, if you look at your extra deck, can be what? Ilia Sylvia, can be what? Can be Humbleway, IP in the graveyard, Kirin in hand, and that's kind of, I mean, with obviously the Fire King stuff in the graveyard, but this is basically the very this is basically what you are looking for. This is the one of the max extension of your end board. Obviously we could argue, yes, I could have an Arvata because I had an Arvata in rotation and I was able to reborn the Arvata. Sometimes we might talk about, yes, I have a Flamberge that can summon an Vulcanix from the spell and trap zone, or a Flamberge that has an Arvata in the spell and trap zone, which I think it's incorrect. But basically here it's, I would argue that this is basically one of the master extension of your deck. Also because the Flamberge, if you even summon the Flamberge with the Princess, you are probably not gonna use the Flamberge in the graveyard effect, because you are gonna clog your zones, and we have to talk about also clogging, about people clogging their own zones, which is very bad. If you have 3 monsters on the board in the main monster zone, you can never use Flamberge in the graveyard if you ever summon it, which is probably incorrect now, especially considering the impulse cards and stuff. So, this is basically one of your master extension, because once you summon Humbleway, once you summon Lilia Sylvia, there is nothing else actually in your extra deck that you really want to have on your board. There is actually nothing else. If we talk about an end, but this is basically what we are aiming for, okay? Nothing more than this, in my opinion. I think this is like the perfection, okay? So let's talk about like, I'm just gonna show you guys one combo with Ash, just to let you guys understand why you don't summon you don't summon the Flamberge anymore from your deck and shit like that. So you go Snake-eyes Ash, summon Poplar effect, add original, and now we are playing the Oak. So I guess we can summon the Oak here depending on your end, or we can summon the Flamberge directly. I'm gonna show you guys like the Oak line, I guess, because I'm playing Oak, so I guess I can show you guys the Oak line. It's gonna be Chilling 1, Chilling 2. Gonna put it here, and we're gonna summon back the Snake-eyes Ash. Then we're gonna go Oak effect. Gonna attribute those 2, summon Flamberge. And then after that we can go Flamberge effect, put Poplar in the spell and trap zone, and then we're gonna go original. We're gonna summon Ponix. Ponix is gonna put the Sanctuary in the spell and trap zone, and then we go for Island. Island is gonna pop the Ponix. We are gonna summon Garonix. In this scenario you always pop Vulcanix. Vulcanix effect is gonna summon the OG Garonix. Vulcanics, so we always pop the Ponix in order to summon the Garonix, and the Garonix is always gonna pop Vulcanics to summon the OG Garonix, and then here we would go for a Zombie Vampire. Okay, now we get knowledge of our opponent's deck. Now we know what our opponent is on, and yada yada. Let's do just some Zombie Vampire shit, and with Zombie Vampire let's take a Fuwalos. Doesn't really matter. Summon it here. So now here there are two different lines you can take from, and I think the safest one is probably try to keep the Flameberge on the board, because you want to have a Kirin before you pop the Flameberge. That's what I probably would do. Yeah, that's probably what I would do, because if you go Sunlight Wolf now, it's very bad into Nibiru. Because you could go for Sunlight Wolf now, which is fine. The issue is that you lose to Nibiru on res. But if you go Princess, worst case scenario you end on IP plus any fire with a Princess in the graveyard. So that's why I would definitely just try to go for an IP line into Princess. So I would go those two into IP into Princess. And now, if you get Nibiru here, you're gonna have two bodies and one token. And then you use the token and one body to make IP. And then in the opponent turn, you basically don't use the IP. You're gonna go Princess on the Fire Monster, targeting a monster that your opponent special summoned. And then you can trigger Garonix, pop the Kirin summon a level 8, and pop your own Princess on the board. So you have basically your IP live, and also the Ponix special summon itself back when you pop the Kirin. You're gonna have 2 level 8 on the board, and you're also gonna have the Ponix on the board. This is gonna be IP, and you're gonna pop the Princess using the Kirin effect. So you can actually, after that, go IP and Ponix to make SP, and the 2 level 8 to make the Exceeds. So this is kind of safe through Nibiru for this reason. Okay? Here you would go Promethean Princess, summon the Vulcanix effect, pop the Flameberge. And we add the Kirin, and then we go Flameberge effect, summon 2 Shitters, which is basically to level 1. Okay, and this is basically like, I mean, this is already good, obviously, and we go for now we just establish a Sunlight Wolf, literally just summon Sunlight Wolf. Under this, you just summon an Anima or whatever you want, or you can summon an Anima. You can summon an Nita, you can summon a Nightmare Phoenix if you have Nightmare Phoenix. Here I would summon Anima because I don't give a shit. Use Sunlight Wolf effect. I'm gonna add follow-up because I like to have follow-up in this scenario. And then I would use those 3 in order to make an Umbla Whale. And that's basically an okay line into Nibiru. Kind of safe, it's fine. And like the summon of Promethean was the best spot, but if you're playing the second Promethean, then he gets super punished. So I kinda like this line. And this is basically what you are aiming for every time. We want always to go Kirin, pop Umbla Whale. So in our opponent turn, we are gonna, during the standby phase, add back the Ponix. Main phase, our opponent does some shit. We're gonna go Kirin, pop the Umbla Whale, and then it's gonna be Shelling 1 Garonix, Shelling 2 Umbla Whale. You don't want your opponent to use the Impulse on Garonix, because you're gonna look stupid if that happens. Specials, I mean, I guess you could also Impulse the Kirin. That's obviously possibility. Summon IP, summon Garonix. Garonix effect is gonna pop the Arvata. And now you go Arvata Shelling 1, Ponix Shelling 2 in your hand to special summon itself. Here you summon back a level 8. I like it to be a level 8. Now here is the thing. Why we don't summon anything else in our turn instead of Volcanics? Because if our opponent top decks an impermanence, it's very bad because you need to shotgun the Flameburge if you didn't use Flameburge in your combo and you put Volcanics in the spell and trap zone. And in my opinion, it's way better to add the Kirin in your turn instead of your opponent turn, because you also risk an Ash Blossom on top deck. So this basically gives you the best chance. Now from here on there are different sequencing except for one, because we are gonna go just IP and Ponix into SP. And after you do this, there are several ways in which you can get your Arvata in rotation. Okay? There are several ways in which you can get your Arvata in rotation. You can go just those two into the Xyz Garonix. You can actually use all three into the Xyz Garonix, and then you can use the Promethean on the Xyz and just summon 3 back. Depending on how your opponent plays, usually you would go SP, blah blah blah, banish, and then you would go the Xyz. You would pop the Kirin effect, summon back Arvata, pop another card, then you would go Promethean Princess. I guess here it's fine. Pop these, effect of these, summon back the probably the Garonix and no, probably not the Garonix, probably might be Volcanics. I have to go probably Volcanics. I don't think I want to pop these, so I kind of want to go Volcanics, and depending on if your opponent has a card on the board, might be probably Ponix here, because I want to pop the Ponix. So it would be Volcanics, pop, add another Kirin, and then you would have Arvata, negate, Humble Whale, pop. Now there are several ways in which you can do this sequence, but I think that you should always aim to pop the Arvata with Garonix, because I actually don't like to put my Arvata in the rotation on my turn. If I'm not forced to, obviously. Like if you're under Fualos, you're probably gonna pop Arvata, which is obviously fine, don't get me wrong. I'm just saying that if I can, I will try to pop the Arvata from my deck in my opponent turn, because I really love this setup in which you have IP, Ponix, and the 3 level 8, because it's very hard to deal with this. Now, I promised my chat that I was gonna show you guys the one wanted combo, and the one wanted combo is a combo that you will use in a very specific situation. There are actually 2 specific situations in which you will use the one wanted combo, which cannot be the one Diabellstar combo. It has to be it has to be actually one wanted. Is when you have good entraps in your hand and you don't want to get rid of any of those. Like, let's assume that we are in a situation like this, right? And after you go, like, this is a sort of realistic situation, in my opinion. It's a sort of realistic situation. So let's assume that you go wanted, and wanted is gonna search for wish. Now there is an issue, right? Because every wanted and Diabellstar combo requires to send fodder in your hand in order to be good. I guess that applies only to Diabellstar, because wanted is actually a way different combo than the Diabellstar combo, and I'm gonna show you why. Because now we go witch, and if you have to go deception in order to send a card from your hand, it's gonna be bad for 2 reasons. It's gonna be bad for 2 reasons, because you will have to get rid of one of the traps, and I don't suggest it. In this kind of setup, you could set original, and setting original is probably correct, because plays better into your opponent having Ash Blossom. Kind of, actually, because I mean, I guess the deception might be kind of problematic. But yeah, so basically, like, obviously setting original in this setup is totally correct, but I want to show you guys what you actually can do with just one wanted. That's not one witch, because the combo is way different. So here you would set deception, And then we go activate Deception tribute Diabellestar in order to add the allowed Azamina. Now, if you guys know how this combo works, you will know that it doesn't work if I tribute Witch. We go allowed Azamina. We're gonna summon the Murcielago, send Deception, use Murcielago, and Murcielago is gonna add original. Then we're actually gonna use original now. And with original, we send the Murcielago in the graveyard. And then we summon Snake-eyes Ash, and Snake-eyes Ash adds Ponyx. And then you normal summon Ponyx effect in order to add the Sanctuary, and then activate Sanctuary in order to put Island face up in the spell and traps. Now, from here there are two different ways that you can do it. If you use Snake-eyes Ash to send Sanctuary, you are playing way better into Nib, but you lose to Ogre. I mean, it's not like you lose to Ogre, it's like, I guess they would Ogre the Deception. So I guess you just don't play around Ogre and you just play around Nibiru, which makes the most sense. You go Snake-eyes Ash, tribute itself, and the Sanctuary. Yes, we are gonna lose the Xyz 8 Fire King in order to summon Flamebirch. Then you're gonna use Fire King Island, pop the Ponyx. We go summon Garonix. Garonix pop the Ulcanix. Ulcanix summons the OG Garonix. Now, we are gonna do Wanted. Shuffle back the original and we draw one card. Doesn't matter. Then we go Flamberge effect. We put Murcielago in the spell and trap zone. And then we're gonna overlay those two in order to summon the Garonix Eternity. We're gonna use the second effect of Garonix Eternity in order to pop Murcielago. And then we're gonna use Murcielago's second effect in order to add original from our deck to our end. So once we do this, now we can use Azamina, put back Murcielago, add back Azamina, and then we can use the fusion spell again, send original, and summon the Ilia Sylvia. After that, we can link those two away, summon IP, go for Flamberge, summon back Snake-eyes Ash, summon back the Ponyx. We use Snake-eyes Ash and IP in order to summon the Promethean. Promethean effect is gonna summon the Ulcanix. And now Ulcanix is gonna pop Ponyx in order to add the Kirin for the next turn. And then we're gonna use those two in order to make Ambloway. And that's almost a full board because we are just missing the Garonix and the Sanctuary. It's literally 90% of a full board. We are basically trading the Eternity for Sylvia, which is fine. And in end phase, we get also the Deception back. The Arvata is always live. You always get the Arvata. So you just, like, if you are listening, you can just go Kirin, pop Arvata, and then you just Promethean the Kirin on the board to summon Arvata. You can just, like, Promethean pop the Kirin to summon Arvata from the grave. Fine, you still have the Arvata. You just have to do a different sequence. It still works. So, I mean, I hope I blow your mind with this combo. This is my fucking deck list. If you wanna have more insights about the fucking deck list and strategy, you can go on Metafy and check Pack for the classroom. And if you are, like, if you wanna be a part of it, we have an insane amount of students that make this like a blast because like everyone is testing together, like it's like a sort of family. if you want to check it out. And would love to see you. Say that, I wish you guys a wonderful day, and I'll see you next time. Okay, and that's the Fire King video.